I want to reintroduce our author here, Cynthia Alonzo Perez.
Thank you for having me.
With a full house.
Yes, thank you for having me.
You don't know, Cynthia is a social worker, is a visionary founder of Rooted and Reflection with over 15 years of experience. She specializes in healing intergenerational trauma through inner child work, blending the psychosocial science of epigenetics and indigenous practice. Born to immigrant parents from Yucatan, Mexico, Cynthia is the proud first-generation daughter committed to creating compassionate spaces where individuals can reconnect to their authentic self and heal from deep-rooted traumas. Her journey is deeply personal, shaped by witnessing her parents struggle and navigating their complexities and their identities. These experiences fuel her passion for social justice and mental health. Cynthia is on a mission to transform how we heal and approach it within the Latino community. So grounded in her belief that joy itself is a powerful force of healing. So thank you.
Did I write that?
It's on me. You know what?
Is that
I did rearrange it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
I was like, let me
beautiful.
cut the pieces.
Yes, thank you for reflecting that to me. I appreciate it.
You are amazing.
Yeah.
And then author of this Marianismo from Roots to Blossom book. So would love to kind of dive deeper into this, but starting off with, like, would you define Marianismo to us and why you use that as the framework as we are dealing with, like, intergenerational trauma and healing inner child and so forth?
Yes. So the word Marianismo, if you want to look at pages, it would be like starting page 22 to 25. But simply said, I got my bachelor's in Chicano Latino Studies, and I remember hearing Marianismo, and then we never talked about it. We talked about the men, we talked about the movement, and the women were kind of, again, swept in the ring. I was like, what about that Marianismo piece? And then it wasn't the time. Okay, I'm 42, y'all. It was 2006, and my parents were like, estamos pagando para que aprendes cómo ser mexicana. I'm paying for your college so you can learn how to be a Mexican. And I was like, how to be a Mexican in America. Do you know how to do that, right? And they were like, whatever, just stay home and be with us and we'll pay for your college. And I was like, what am I gonna do with it? And then when I became a mom, I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do with it. I'm supposed to talk about Marianismo because it unlocked in me. A life event can unlock our epigenetics. And so what Marianismo is really this like historical, cultural belief that we have had. It's really a value that is told to us for, when Spanish colonizers came to say, like, we should worship God and Jesus, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But they gave women a role. They assigned a role to us and said, you are responsible for the man. He's supposed to serve God. So what you get to do is kind of like packaging oppression. Like, what you get to do is you get to, like, make sure that he's fed, he has children, and that's great. But it was also tied to these obligations. You also have to be modest, quiet, virtuous, pure. You can't be like upset about things because that's not what the Virgin Mary would do. And so anything that was out of line or out of this framework was like, would the Virgin Mary do that? Like, would she do that? And it's kind of like been this badge of honor that we carry. So generationally, we know Marianismo. We know tias or moms who are doing that, but we never called it that. It was kind of like costumbres, like this is just how we are. So it started to be something that was like, we need to talk about this in therapy, because a lot of times the women were coming to therapy, and even men, I mean, they're impacted by Marianismo. So really when we as women are told, like, you have to be like this, it limits us. So the book is really dedicated on calling out what is Marianismo, but also the duality of it, the like good and the bad. And so this book is just dedicated to us, to center us, because I didn't see anything like it. So I was like, hold my pen, and then I got to work.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that, like just the duality piece? Because I do think Marianismo, we'll probably see it and experience it, maybe touching on like what does it look like in like our small day-to-day actions, but just talk about the duality. What's the other side of that coin then?
That's all I want to do is like talk about it and be like, did you feel that? Like, did you see that? So I picked a rose because, first of all of these pieces came to me. And when I say that, I was never like that, to say like, it came to me in a dream, but it did. Hasta me están jalando sometimes. I'm like, I don't want to think about it. And they're like, this is what you're going to say. And I'm just like, I'm like a kitty on the keyboard. I'm like, clackety, clack, clack, the GIF, And it just poured into me. And I started to realize I was focusing more. These ancestors were angry. And so I was focusing more on the thorns. I use a rose because, first of all, it's the highest frequency, right? And it has this beautiful essence. And whenever I see a rose, I do like a double take. Like, dang, she fine, right? I'm just like, what color are you? What do you look like? Do you have a scent? Or are you like, you're going to make me work for it? And I started to see, like, I can't just talk about the rose, the thorns, without talking about the leaves, the duality. So we have these protectors, these burdens that I get into in the book. But I was like, but that's so fucked up. Here I am, like, I don't want to just tear it down. What about our leaves? Which to me is like the photosynthesis of a plant. When the sun, the light hits the leaves, the plant's like, bah, 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 and it just grows. And so I thought, let's also highlight the duality. So as women, we have so many gifts, and so often, like, we didn't get to live in them. Or I don't know a lot of women in my lineage that were in their leaves. They were too busy working. So I really wanted to kind of like set the stage for thinking about our duality, not just our hardness, because that's important too, right? You know, when we trace our lineage, like, there's so many people who died and so many people who survived, and yet we're here. So the duality of like honoring our survival and our magic.
Yeah, thanks. You also talk about like generational trauma, right, with the Marianismo. It comes from what we've seen and then what we're experiencing. So can you explain how like the emotional and the cultural like experience has been passed down to us, even like through DNA?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I like to do cuentos. Cuentos are like little stories, right? Like, te digo un cuento. And I realize I love that because that's connection. Like, you feel special, like, Irelia, te digo un cuento. And what do? We lean in. I grab my drink, tell me, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm tuned in. And so I started to realize, like, it's through stories that I have to do it. As a therapist in these white spaces, it was like, I'm gonna read about Latinos. And it's like, okay, but what does that look like? And I was like, I could tell you. It looks like, and we all know it, right? Dorca's book, Tías y Primas, if you haven't read that book, she explains Marianismo, right, in all these tías and primas. But epigenetics, I call it a backpack for your DNA. So it's like all the survival things that you have in your backpack. It's on top of your DNA, the things that your ancestors did a lot of. Okay, it's not what they were it could be what they were the best at, but it's whatever they did a lot of. So if your ancestors worked a lot, guess what? You're really good at working a lot. If your ancestors cried a lot, I mean, done, right? But also, like, did they dance a lot? Did they sing a lot? Did they cook all the time? You have that within you. And so when I started to get into the essence, I was like, there's things within me that even though I didn't grow up in Mexico, I became a mom and I was like, what is this portal? I didn't know, right? And I started to feel these stories. And I'm not gonna lie, many of the stories were sad. Like, I live in Long Beach. I've grown up in Long Beach. All of a sudden, I have a baby, and why am I in Yucatan? Which Yucatan is a peninsula, if you think about it. A big land mass surrounded by water. And then I live in Long Beach, which is very similar, which is a portal, right? And so I had a baby, and I was like, I had a baby. This is supposed to be great. It was not that easy. I went into this portal, and all of a sudden, I was like, I'm raging. I'm sad. I'm embarrassed. I'm like, this ain't for me. I don't know what you're doing. The biggest one is numb. I was numb. And I didn't want to be numb. Like, I wanted to feel. And it was in there that one day, I remember, then I had 2 kids, right? I had back-to-back twins. I always called them twins. I had back-to-back kids, and I remember laying on the floor, 2nd Street in Junipero. I had a condo. And I was like laying on the floor, and I could hear the ocean. I could hear that foghorn. That's what I love about Long Beach. I could smell the seawater, and I was just like, take me, ocean, right? And I was like, this ain't for me. And I just heard this voice, and it was like, we know. It's been there, don't worry. And this voice said, like, what are you numbing from? And I heard myself say, I'm afraid that I won't be good for them. I'm afraid that I'm not enough for my kids. So I should just leave. I should run away. I should run to the ocean and let her take me because these kids deserve better. It was actually then that I realized I loved them so deeply that I numbed out. And then I was like, this is intense. This is not smoking weed. I didn't smoke weed in these moments. Like, I didn't know, right? So this is just me, like, raw dogging it, right? And I think, like, I honestly think breastfeeding, because breastfeeding was some kind of connection where I would be like, this is amazing, but everything else. And so it was in that I was like, this is not all mine. This goes deeper. And I started to just read a lot of books, pacing my floors like Belle, like, babe, did you know, trauma dumping on my husband, like, did you know that epigenetic? And I started to see it, my story. And I was like, no one's gonna tell me my story. Nobody cares about my immigrant family. I had to find that out. And I realized the sadness and the rage were all these grandmas that were responsible for all these kids, that's husbands left to go pick fruit, and they didn't know when they were gonna come back and if they were gonna send money and if they were gonna have food. And so they numbed to protect themselves, because that shit's fucking hard. Just like I told you, I would be distracted watching TV. Modern day numbing. I'm gonna be on my phone. But really, they were telling me, we know, that's us. And when I asked my mom, she told me. So that's when sorry, I know that's a long story, but the whole point is this unlocked something in me. And so really the story kind of highlights the like tale I went on to realize, like, these pains that I feel where I'm just like, why is it so deep? It's the backpack, the survival backpack, and all this shit is spilling out.
The generational stuff.
The generational stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love putting that into words, and I think one of the things you talk about is numbness, and you do mention a lot of other protectors that I think we experience, and a big one was like
wait.
Oh, go ahead.
I think I want to honor that you said to read The Sewing Machine, because I think that goes
yes,
with that.
That
Can
was
I read that?
Yeah. Is
that okay?
That would be so good.
Because I was like, yes, sorry.
You're right.
You asked me about this story, and I kind of I just love telling stories about it, because I think that's how you see what we're saying. Go ahead.
I was thinking about this crowd as I was like, what story really resonates? I do think, especially our staff is like a room full of creatives. And so even when you were mentioning, right, like some of our ancestors, either if they were really hard workers, back then, that's what gets passed down, right? And so anyways, I'll let you read it. But just the creativity gets reclaimed, I think, in our generation, I love.
She's already telling me, and I love it. You're like, Rich,
I love this.
You get it. Thank you for seeing that. Okay, so I'm going to share a little story. It's on 115. But if I can encapsulate what I was feeling and when I realized, like, dang, I was nesting. So on 115, doing things with love as the medicina of Marianismo. So I'm going to start on the second paragraph. I have replayed moments I have been connecting with my abuela Raquel through epigenetics, often without even realizing it. The obvious connections would be that I love wearing ipiles, where some people may look down on it. I host hammock homecomings on the land, and I believe my grandmother's craft and healing remedios are passed down to me through her guidance in those intimate moments with those called. The last story I will leave you with is one that I still feel in my lungs. My father always says wonderful things about his mom, and also shares that she had a hard and sad life, being very poor and always having to be the responsible parent while his father drank the money away. My grandfather would be at her sewing machine producing products to feed her children. She cried a lot, they said. One day, when I was 7 months pregnant with my first full-term pregnancy, I got a intuitive, an instinctual idea to sign up for a sewing class with my local Parks and Rec. I had always wanted to learn how to sew, and that period in my third trimester seemed like the perfect time. I signed myself up for the beginner apron making 6-week class. The day of the first class, I was on edge and anxious about my high-risk pregnancy. I remember picking a fight with Mike and heading to class early to calm down. I waddled into the fabric store where the class was being held, and I started to feel things. I felt calm. I felt inquisitive. I felt eager. They told us to pick out fabrics for our apron. I found myself feeling the textures and smelling the samples. I felt sentimental. I couldn't make sense of it because I didn't have any prior connections to sewing. I brushed the deep feelings off as shame and nerves. When the class started, the teacher was an older lady, and she was so kind and patient. Feeling very pregnant, I found myself having a hard time paying attention. When it was time to start our projects, I started worrying about the argument with Mike, and I fell behind in the apron. I just burst into tears in front of the sewing machine in class. I just couldn't stop. The other participants gave me some pregnancy support about how pregnancies bring waves of feelings, and I thanked them. I sat in my car and sobbed. I couldn't breathe. I felt so much sadness and grief. I felt a longing. I felt, and now I truly believe, given everything I know about epigenetics and ancestral technology, I believe I was crying as a connection to my grandmother's epigenetics. I imagine she cried often while very pregnant with each of her 3 babies and sewing at all hours for survival. I realize now she was the call I felt to learn how to sew, like a protective plan to always be able to provide for myself, like nesting in preparation for baby, like bilateral stimulation and rhythmic flow through machine and craft. Maybe I was trying to be closer to her, and we both cried that day in the fabric store. She got me there. She picked out the fabric, and we cried at the weaving of our motherhood stories. What a loving, intentional act she did, and I tried. I think I will try again. That's that one.
Yeah, so again, I think it's just the creativity, right, of our ancestors, and that, I think you mentioned it, like they didn't get to do this weaving and the sewing out of creativity, but rather survival and labor, and it was life or death. And now we do, though.
Yeah.
We get to sew out of the creativity, out of the expression, out of the joy, and hopefully out of the healing of what we've experienced.
Yeah,
I
that's
love,
exactly it. You get it.
I love the full circle of that story.
Thank you for, thank you for seeing me.
But yeah, I think other like protectors that I think really stood out from your book was like the shapeshifter, the scarcity mentality, the invisibility, the not wanting to be seen, right? It's easier to live in isolation. The fear of missing out. FOMO.
She's on page 79, if anyone's. She's like saying,
right.
I love it. Yes.
So just the different protectors that you mentioned, like our thorns, right? These are the things that we use to protect ourselves from harm or experiencing further trauma or vulnerability even.
So I started to see my protectors. That's like AKA self-awareness. Nah, that's hard. And I was like, gosh. And these protectors started to come up to me now that they were safe. I was like, go ahead, show me my shit, right? Show me my shit. I was like, 2023 was the year of show me my shit. 2024 was like, deal with it, right? And like 2025 is like, be soft in it. So these protectors came to me, and I want to just preface it by some of this I owe to the farm workers of California. I write in the book that my mother and grandparents, they got citizenship by being farm workers in the 60s. But in 2021, I quit my job, and I got this opportunity to do remote therapy, more money than I ever been paid. I get to work from home, and I get to help farm workers in Spanish and in English. Okay, I'm like, say less. Best job. 2 years, and then I kept hearing these stories. I'm like, are you my aunt? Are you my cousin? Like, these stories are familiar. So a lot of this info is from being able to be, I believe I was put there to be able to like, and I would bring up Marianismo. So then I started to see, we have a lot of protectors, and one of them is scarcity. And so I believe like my mom's generation, their scarcity was like, I need to make sure my kids have enough because I didn't have enough. And then I believe my grandparents were like literally the scarcity of not having enough. But my scarcity as this generation is I may never be enough. I may never be deserving enough because they did so much. There's nothing I could do to ever be enough. And the scarcity of being too, like the scarcity that I will always be in this spot. And it's not true. So I saw scarcity as a protector. I want to tell you about scarcity. These shoes, okay? These shoes are soda shoes. That's like $13, but they're like shiny. So I never wore them. And I kept saying, and like I'm talking in like figurative, right? And they always stayed in my little drawer. And I'm like, it's not special time yet. It's not special time yet. It's not special time yet. These shoes are soda shoes. When is the special? You know what I mean? When is the special time? What are you waiting for? Your life, like, and today I was like, no, not special time. And they were like, when the fuck you're the special time. Put the shoes on. And so I did. So it's the scarcity like that. That's what it looks like. And then humility and invisibility. Whoo! You know how many Latinos, men too, they were like, does it matter if I'm happy? The women in my family think I am. Does it matter? I'll just be here and just, yeah, Mom, that was it. And I was like, but you don't have to. Yeah, but, you know, and it was like our humility. And I was like, that is a protector. It was taught to us, but now we don't even know how to be seen because we've been so invisible. Yeah. Yeah.
We're uncomfortable with visibility.
Yes.
But the minute you feel like you're going to say any little thing, is like, oh no, you want to hide your
You
Be like, oh, you be humble. Or
Yes,
be humble.
because of the
It's like,
humble.
nah.
Yeah.
make yourself smaller.
Take up space. You deserve to take up space.
And it's really hard to do that without feeling like that, what are they going to say?
Give an decir.
You're gonna see,
Yes.
who do you think I am trying to do this,
Yeah. Yes. So you get it. How about resentment as a protector? That one dragged my ass. Okay. I was like, resentment? How is that a protector? You're just ugly. Like, you're resentful. And then resentment one day was like, you're not mad at them. You're mad at yourself for letting them take that. I'm here to tell you to stop, to choose yourself. And I was like, damn, that's deep. Do we know that? And I was like, there's so many Latina women who harden their heart because of the abuse that Celia Cruz talked about. And I was like, that resentment is there as an invitation to have discernment, to have boundaries, to say, get the fuck out of here with that low ball price, And so, yeah, these protectors, like, they came to me like guardians. Like, tell them this one. Yeah.
I don't know. When I'm thinking protectors, how do we then shift to when we bring our guard down? Like,
Yeah.
what is that transition then?
Ooh.
Where do we go? How do we
It's
get to
gonna
the other
be-
side?
Yes. Okay, well, I'm going to say 2 words, and then I'm going to say 1 word.
Okay.
The word of how to shift is vulnerability. We talked about it. Like, vulnerability has been taken from us. Like, if I'm vulnerable, you could use it against me. You could remember that. You could have it in your back pocket. You could tell somebody else my vulnerability, and then I'm done. And, like, that might just be in social media in our generation. But in my ancestors' generation, I found people that were born on haciendas, which is a Spanish, basically, plantation. And I was like, oh, we're from haciendas? They're like, oh, honey, you didn't own you didn't own the hacienda. Honey. And that's what the genealogy is like, you guys didn't own it. You guys died working on it. And I was like, I feel that. Boo. That's why I care so much. That's why when George Floyd happened, I was like, I felt it. I was like, I've always been it. And so when I saw vulnerability, I was like, I know why we're invisible. Vulnerability is literally, it was life and death back then. And so I had to be okay with the word detaching. Like, I'm safe now. I can detach from these values I thought I had to hold on to. And so these 2 protectors were really hard for me. Competition and comparison. Capitalism tells us to compete and compare. And my mom is like the best. Like, I could be like, Mom, can you believe that Color Compton, like, they did 2 of my, she's like, well, you know what your cousin's doing. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm talking about me. Oh, but your uncle and I'm like, me, Mom, right here. And it broke me every time. And so I had to let go of any, like, beliefs that I needed to do more. And the only way to do that was to be vulnerable with my heart, to be vulnerable with my joy. And so I started to do, and I talk about it in the book, things that we do naturally, things that my ancestors, I was like, man, this is really hard. But you know who had it real hard? My great, great, great Diaz, And I was like, what would they do? What would they do in this situation? And so I asked my mom, like, hey, what did they do? Because you said you were poor. She's like, bailamos, cantamos, right? We had pijamadas, we laughed, we cooked outside. Literally, they cooked out. I mean, my grandma had a house of sticks. That was her house. Her kitchen was outside. And I'm over here thinking I'm the first to, like, have a bounce check. Like, are you kidding me? And so I just say it's indigenous to us. You know how to get back to it. You have to allow yourself to, like, I don't know, I want to do this drum. I don't know why. Do the drum. I don't know, I want to sew a little bit. I don't know. And let them kind of guide you after. So yeah, that's what I said.
I think one more thing that really stood out to me as I read your book was talking about rage. And
Ooh.
Rage is a love child of ancestral trauma and shame. Can you talk a little bit about
Rage is
that?
the love child of ancestral trauma and shame. Yes. So Dr. Jennifer Mullen, she has the book Decolonizing Therapy, and I recommend it. What page is the Rage and Shame?
Page 43.
93?
43?
43? Okay.
Try that.
Yeah, when I started to realize that, like, there was something, if you want a story, if you want a little cheese man, his eyebrows are like, I want the cheese man. Okay, here's a little cheese man. I was telling Abigail how dope y'all are because some places aren't dope when you work with them. I'm just going to be, they're stuffy, they make you feel like they're doing you a favor, they expect all, like, there's been events where I'm working it, and I'm like the keynote, and I'm here passing out plates, okay? I'm here not eating for 5 hours. I mean, people are, and I did an event. You know which one. Okay, I'll tell you. And after the event, my rookie mistake was not having a contract. And I write about this. And afterwards, she's like, you know what? I know we said 20-80, but I'm thinking 50-50. When I tell you, I could have jetpacked my ass out of that room. I wanted to get through the phone, rip out her neck, and shake her like this. Is this being recorded? This is being recorded. Okay, well, it's fine. But that's okay. That's okay. I didn't say names, but that's what I wanted to do.
Edit it out.
Right. No, it's fine. No, it's fine. And I just felt on fire because the event was
amazing.
And these were sitting there. I mean, it wasn't an event. It was a ceremony. Okay? My husband DJing, the sound bath with the Filipino group, the rapping, the R&B yoga. It was a ceremony. And they were here crying like now and then, like, ooh. Yeah, you felt it. You felt the magic. You let these brown and black people put this magic on, and then you want to take 50%. When we did, and I had to pay out the yoga, I had to pay out, and you want to, and I was like, all of a sudden, old me would have been like, okay, I guess I'll just take it, whatever. I felt this hand like, here's what you're going to say. And I just heard myself like, actually, I scared her. I got all my money. And I felt like there is a rage around me. This is before I knew about the hacienda, around sacred rage. And so sacred rage, when I started to like realize this rage is protecting something, is like telling me this has happened to me before. Yeah. This has happened to us before. Yeah. So, yeah. Let's see. I said, like, this is where we can get to know our sacred rage, not to be afraid of it. I mean, it might feel physically scary, but to really start to ask it questions, noticing with compassionate curiosity rather than suppression. One way that I have noticed is by saying, well, what's the root feeling? What root feeling am I feeling when I have this rage? When I think about the word sacred, I think that it's more than just mine.
The little piece of justice for all the women, all the lineage, all the generations behind you.
Yeah.
It changes now.
Yeah. Instead of feeling shame for it, I was like, no, I am going to speak up for this one. Hold my backpack. Yeah.
Yeah. Held.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks. I do want to open it up for anyone else if you guys have questions, if you want to skim.
Yes.
Go for it.
Huh? What'd you say? Oh, okay. Well, if you want to.
Can I have a template?
Right. Do you want to know the other part too? Because there was 2 parts. Because I'm here to give you all the. Okay. So I'm in the. So again, my husband's like, calm down. Everyone gives me the like, oh shit, she's about. And I just felt. I said like something like real firm. Like, we did the work. That this is not what we agreed, and I want the money now. And I just didn't let up. And I heard myself actually just say it. I don't even know. But here's what happened after. She said yes for the money. I'm crying. Right. And I call this person who was helping me that day. Mm-hmm. She had called me up and she's like, hey girl, I've been to your events. I love helping you. This is for us, right? So I'm gonna help you at your next event, this event. She helped me. She helped me so much. Like, let's not, she did help me. But I had cried to her about these other things and people and all this stuff. So then I call her on FaceTime. I'm like, FaceTime. And my ancestors have a funny way. They like hit people in the back of the head. They're like, you're going to tell her the truth right now because she's honest and she's vulnerable. And to be honest, they weren't going to let anything stand in the way of this book. This is like writing the book. They were like, oh, we're going to cut people out because you need to have this done. And we're going to reveal to you who is not good for the book. I didn't know that then. And so I'm telling the girl, like, can you believe it? And she speaks all this love into me. She was like, you know, like, no, she's not going to exploit you. And then all of a sudden on FaceTime, I see her face change. She's like, I need to tell you something. I don't know what came over me. And I'm like, here it comes. I know what came over you. And she's like, I'm going to work with all the two people that had just exploited me. And I'm going to do, and I was like, I felt again that jetpack, like, zoom, it's everybody. Zoom, zoom, zoom. And I was like, nah, Rocketeer, like, lift me to the moon. And I was like, okay. And in that moment, again, I said, I cannot be with, it's not if you hire me, if you work with me, and I cut all of it out. But the thing I felt was like, I'm protected. I am protected because I have purposeful work. And so, yeah, just letting the exploitation, like, I kind of like went back to myself and said, like, who can I call on, you know? And there's parts of me that have been exploited, but there's parts of me who have been like, no, I will not. I'd rather burn my product than have you have it. And that's okay too, yeah. But thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we have mics for people.
Oh, okay.
No.
Do you want me to read the Candita one for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you please?
Well,
That's such a good one.
I wrote like little things because you told me the things that you liked, and all of a sudden I was like, all these new things out. But I have this poem on page 52. It's called Candita, but I wrote this earlier, like, tell Candita's story. Always in chinga, obligated to a life jorobada, always working. I'm telling you now, when I start to feel jorobada is when I stop working, okay? When I start feeling jorobada, ya no es para mí. Jorobada means hunched over. I just had a healthcare job. I'm telling you all the cheese, man. I've been wanting to. It's on my heart. I'm supposed to. I had a healthcare job. I literally just quit February. I couldn't do it anymore. Made the most money I ever made. Okay? I could not work there one more minute. For me, it was all the ICE deportations and how they handled it, but I digress. But all of a sudden, I was looking at myself every night working for that company, and I was like this on my laptop, like, and this poem came out of me before I went to bed. My husband's like, turn your screen down, come to bed. And I was like, I'm doing something. But I realized that job was taking away from my creativity. My creativity was like being smothered. Like I didn't have the dreams anymore. I didn't like dream in color. And so I put my laptop to bed and I was like, fuck. You know how I told you take me to another dimension? They were like, showed me this layer. Like, you're doing the same thing we did. But we had a sewing machine. Yours is a laptop. You're stuck on it. Producing. Oh, you think you got your master's, you're still producing. You're still in chinga. When I worked with the farm workers, they told me, tú sabes aquí, andando en la chinga. And I knew what they meant, but I asked them, what do you mean when you say that? Like, cuando they all said it. Tú sabes aquí, andando en chinga. And they were like, doing this, doing that, always working, always hustling. And I was like, fuck, yo siempre estoy andando en chinga. Even though that's not my experience, I know how to do it real good. And so when I closed my laptop, I thought of the connection of my ancestors. So it's called Candita. And if you want to hear the chisme after Candita's story, because her story is, woo.
Just tea.
It's tea, yeah. So Candita, I have a little viejita who inhabits space in my spirit. Maybe it's a dwelling in my heart. I started calling her Candita. She sits in a small corner of my knowing, in the shadows of scarcity, with a small light on at her sewing table. Her coffee has gone cold and her vision blurry from focusing on the thread. Tongue out and foot on the pedal, she cracks her knuckles and repositions to produce. Colorfully piles with birds and flowers created by dawn. Creativity held captive. I see her more clearly now, working for me, for us. Night after night, weaving hamacas and marketing them in mis sueños, never resting herself. It's time. It's time to tell Candita to turn the lamp off and head to her own hamaca. And I close my laptop and my eyes and join her. You know?
Yeah.
Thank you. And I say this story because Candita, she's actually my mom's aunt. And I met her on a trip to Mexico. And when I met her, my spirit was like, oh, this woman's been through a lot. You know, when you see some people and you're like, that woman has been through a lot. And she was very frail and thin, like 5'10", but thin, like a pencil. And she just looked sad. And this is what everyone said about her. Oh, tía Candita no podía tener hijos. She couldn't have children. So her husband left her and married another woman. And now she sees their kids like walk to school. I was like, that's, she was right. Think about her every day, right? Like her every day. Then we could drop into the next dimension, right? Like Back to the Future, 3D. Then my mom says, and then she was in charge of taking care of me and all our siblings because she didn't have kids. So when my parents left to go pick fruit in California, she was responsible for all the kids. And they say she went crazy because my brothers were jumping and doing drugs and like running around. And I saw her there like, fuck. They just assigned her this role, the obligation to that, the rage. And when I had my miscarriages, and I write about that in the book too, that's intense. I actually really like that story.
It's a
now,
good story.
wasn't fun then, but I write about how the same hospital I was working at took my baby. And I say it's a baby, my little gummy bear baby on the floor. And when they grabbed it before I could, again, not a jetpack, a motherfucking bear. I could have ripped I didn't even know what was coming. And I think that was Candita. That was Candita. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions, commentary, sharing?
And I want to say that there is one writer in the book. This book features 6 other women. Another voice told me, like, just ask them. Like, ask them. And they told me who to ask, that they would say yes, that they love you, that this is like something. And every woman I asked said yes. The only people that didn't show up is because I asked them too late. But I asked Irelia to do a piece. And you did a beautiful piece on perfectionism and professionalism.
Hi, everyone. I'm Irelia, and I am just a friend to this lovely, beautiful being here. And I write about my experience as a first-generation firstborn daughter to Mexican immigrants, and the duty that you are ingrained in of go to school, do what's right, be the role model. You're pushing the way through. You're the golden child, right? And you do those things, and I did them faithfully. Doot. Bachelor's, master's, doot. Become a teacher, doot. That's all I knew how to be. Become a principal, doot. All these check marks. And my heart and spirit were just depleted. The educational system is still a system. And it is not designed, it does what it's designed to do, to sort, right? And my spirit was just not there anymore. And it manifested itself physically with rashes and allergies. And it's your spirit is telling you, you don't belong here anymore. Your body is screaming, you don't belong here anymore. You need to do something else. And then I'm actually from Salinas, California, which is a farming town. My parents are farm workers. That's all I ever knew. And then I get married and I go, woo! Here I end up in Southeast LA, Southgate, with my husband, who that's his home. This is where he was born and raised. And there's so much similarities to my home. But it allowed me the opportunity to really rip out an old identity. Our professions become our identity, and you need to get back to who you are. Who am I without this title? Who am I with all these people? Who am I with all these accolades? Who am I without degrees? If you cannot stand on that, you really feel naked, and you have to rebuild yourself. Who am I? I'm joyful. I'm friendly. I'm a hard worker. All these things start bubbling up, and you have to rebuild yourself and get to know your soul without an identity. And it is hard. It is hard not to stand on your accomplishments when that's all you have been riding on for a while. And so now here I am.
Hey, what you do now?
No, this is so wild. So I have a company called Cosmic Rose Apothecary, and I grow my own herbs and flowers in my backyard. And I turn them into natural skin products and natural remedies. And I am also a herbalist instructor at Moonwater Farm in Compton. So yeah, so I take, there's a group of seed to shelf students, so that's our program, 16 years old to 26 years old, and I'm the herbal pathway teacher. And that the intent is still reclaiming our gifts, reclaiming our cultural identity as our priceless inheritance, and practicing being a good ancestor now. Teaching these remedies. This land, you know how to work it, it loves you back. You love it, it loves you back. And that's kind of what that bridge I'm building now. And then Cynthia and I just click, and we're homies, and we just do kind of ride and die things together all the time.
I think our connection was, you don't have to do this alone. Like, you show up at events where I'm like, this is my first time. You think I ever did this before? And, you know, we get to, like, support each other in a way that, like, that's comadreship, you know? Because I don't have to, I can look out and be like, thank you for being here. You know, we've done, like, big events. And we've done intimate events. And it's like, I don't have to do this alone, is what I hear. So thank you. And we both come from farm-working families.
Yeah,
So
it's also, I think, allowing yourself to become someone new, that in this lifetime you can be so many things, and you can have tons of lives, and you could have your wild party life and your business life, and now my farming life, and all of those multifaceteds are just your soul expressing itself in this opportunity, and you just enjoy it. Enjoy it, and don't be ashamed of it. I shared with Cynthia that my family would say, one of my family members had said, so you have a master's degree and you're just gonna go be a housewife like grandma? And it stung. I was like, damn. And then I was like, oh, hell yeah, I am. Yes, because she may not have had a choice, but I have a choice. And I love it. I love doing laundry, and I love cleaning the house. And
because I
love it. Yeah. And finding that joy. Don't tell anybody, you know, you find your joy where you find your joy, and who cares if you have a stack of degrees and you just want to go pull weeds. You just love your life. I'm still teaching.
You're right.
Yeah.
Good
You were
point.
just in the wrong sector.
Doing it your way.
So thank you. Thank you for letting me share.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have a comment. I'm gonna take the mic and talk. No, just kidding. No, I feel so called out. I just feel so called out on all of it, right? Because I'm also first gen. Y'all are standing in my dream baby, right? This is literally something that took a lot of faith, a lot of, fear, and just like unknowing of like what is gonna happen. We literally signed the lease here, and 2 weeks later it was COVID. And we were like, we'll use that time to like get it together. And I was pregnant, and I couldn't even help my husband build anything because I was like, I'm encouraging you with words. I don't know. But same, right? I was the first in my family to not just go to college, but like graduate. And then I went and got my master's. And then I got married. And then I had kids, and my parents were like, yes, girl, like, okay, you're hitting all the marks. And then the moment that I came back home, because I was like, okay, I have my daughter, I want to be close to family, I need some support. And I was working at a job, and it was paying me not so great. I actually took a cut because I wanted to be back home, but I was miserable. I was doing nothing. And my dad actually like noticed. He was like, Mija, like, you're not happy. And I was like, yeah, Dad, I'm not happy. And I quit. And then I started doing this here. And so I had no income. I had no idea where my next check was gonna come. Nothing, right? Like literally taking out all my retirement funds from like back when I used to work at UC, and my dad was like, I think you should just focus on your kids and maybe you do this later. Like you shouldn't do it. And at that point, when I started doing the work here is when I veered off that checkpoint, or that kind of like you're checking off all the marks, right? That like now you were doing it the way you were supposed to do it, but now you're going into uncharted territories. We don't really agree with this. Like I don't understand that anymore, right? And that's where like conflict between me and my parents and kind of started, of like them not seeing the vision, right? And even my husband like now supports me. He like admitted, he was like, Abby, I had no idea what you were doing. I didn't understand it, but I knew that my role was to support you. And then like 2 years later, it clicked for him. Literally like 2 years later, he was, yes, he was like,
That's where my husband is at right now.
yeah, he's like, I think I get it now. Like I get it.
Together.
Yeah, but I think, and why I say called out, because yes, all of these check marks and thinking about, like I'm very transparent with my staff as well. So thinking about the work environment that we try to establish here, like most of them have seen me cry. Most of them like know when I'm going through stuff, or when I'm like, you guys, I really don't understand anything. Like I might be messing up because I don't know. No one's teaching me, right? Like I'm figuring it out as I go. And I hope that it encourages them to also go after whatever it is that their dream is, even if no one's mentoring them in it, or even if they don't understand how to do it. And then now I'm saying all this to say that literally this week I was having a hard time because, like sometimes for me, I'm like, God, it just pulls you out to be like, listen, I told you, you need to do this, and you keep not listening, and I'm going to just yank you out or whatever. And my therapist has me working on figuring out where that comes from, because I also sometimes struggle with my own, like thinking like, yeah, am I the one to do it? Similar to what Yo-Yo said of like, okay, is this going to be successful? Like, am I the one that's supposed to do it?
Yeah.
And I was telling one of my staff members, I was like, because I'm healing from it and I'm trying to get better, I'm also worried that I'll also fall apart in front of my staff, right? Of like, how do you balance both of like, I'm healing from it, but I'm like, I wanted to stay afloat because now you all are connected to this. Because now
That's
it's not
pressure.
just like, if I fail, I can go back home and be like, all right,
Nobody saw it. Nobody was
sorry.
impacted.
But it's also like now it's connected to so many other people's dreams. And so even when you were talking about the laptop, you saw me in the back over there on my laptop. And, because today is like a deadline for like tax purposes, right? And I'm thinking about the organization and how we all got to get paid.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to get this done. And so like kind of being behind the laptop and balancing of like, I'm putting myself in this space sometimes, yes, because I believe in it, but also because it's connected to other people, and finding that balance between going into uncharted territories, but also being selfish and taking care of yourself, right? And what that balance is of like, this is amazing. Like the fact that this conversation is happening here.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And there's so many conversations that like, you have it with one friend and then you go like, okay, that was great. But like, put us all together and like you share and then popcorn, Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say it's really encouraging. And also a reminder that like the work never fully stops, right? Like you get to one milestone and you're like, okay, I figured that out. And then you're like, crap, never mind. I actually didn't really figure that whole piece out. And so, I guess I want to thank you both for that. And then also if you, like, how does that look for you? This kind of constant evolving and hitting different milestones and just acknowledging that the work is never done.
Okay. I felt called out because I literally was feeling this yesterday. I'm so used to always, like I said, being andando en chinga. Like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And now I'm like, so we're moving to Mexico, and I couldn't get through to I thought like, I can't get through to my husband. You know what I did? I created an altar, and I would like intentionally like, what did your dad like? Coke? A Coke. What did your mom like? Flowers? Flowers. And I would ask them, like, whatever is for us, like, find us. And then he's like, yeah, we'll move to Mexico. I just want you to work less. Could you promise me that? And I was like, ew. That's like asking me to like not, take a little toke or, like, and I'm kidding, right? Because I was like, am I addicted to my work? Like, is this what I'm saying? No, I'm not going to work less. And I had to like let myself be in my softness. And I realized I had been creating these programs. I've been doing it. You know how many programs? I mean, I know you know. I've written like over 15 proposals. Like, oh my gosh. And I had to be like, it's okay. If everybody doesn't see what I wanted them to see, the people who are going to show up or who get it are going to get it. And now, Tuesday, I officially taught my first college course. So now my Marianismo is a framework that is like in college. Okay, but, here I am. I'll do it. I'll do this. I'm doing Latina Fest. June, we're doing Latina Fest, sold out. We're doing this, and we're like, okay, doing it, okay. And then last night, this is what I love about, I keep talking about, but my partner really is here to like show me, because I'm supposed to do big things. But I don't think I could have done that with just my parents and their like lack, right, of love, of seeing me. And I think he's here to like, hey, bring it back, right? And so every time I leave my work, right, not like agency work, but like my work rooted, I get back and he's watching the kids. He's like, hey, how'd it go? And this is me, great, just great every time. Every time. And he's like, that's great, babe. I love hearing you in the next room. And I'm like, is this a dream? Do I really get to receive all this? And I have to. I'm like, your love is like, I have to. And he's like, it's just easy to love you. Like the things that you create, I love it. And I'm like, and so my purpose was that, okay, so Tuesday comes. The class is great. Thank you, Marilyn, for joining it for an hour. And after the class, and I'm seeing people like that I don't know, like, and I'm like, is this real? Like, what that? And then I get to my bed. I know you know this. And it hits me. What the fuck am I doing? Did I really insert myself into psychology? Did I really tell psychology, this is what this is, here's the framework, here's a little bit about Latinos, and that's never gonna be the same now that you know that, right? And in my bed, I was like, babe, I had to get up. I was like, babe, that was pretty brave of me. And he's like, yeah, babe, you've been being brave. I was like, I'm kind of scared now. You know? Like, I was just like, I got this idea. An ancestor sent me. And I'm like, and you know what else, babe? And he's like, what? I was like, it's going to get bigger. I can tell. And I want to erase my stuff all the time. I'm like, too much visibility. I got to hide for a little bit. And I just felt the realness of what I'm doing. And it's fucking terrifying. And also, I can't not. But I guess I'm chosen for it. But I was like, this week alone, I was like, doo. No wonder this distraction kept me from realizing how big my mission is. Because if I would have seen it from the beginning, I'd be like, you got the wrong girl. She doesn't even go here. Like, you would have just, not me, not I, And now I'm like, Taylor Swift, did you read my book? Like, you like a Taylor Swift song? Check out my book. Like, I just feel like nobody can tell me nothing because it's for me to do. So, I don't know. I don't handle it, is what I'm saying. And the other part of it is like, I just can't stop creating now. Like, I undid something. My master's degrees were like, my dad's an engineer. My dad's father had a third grade education, and yet he read. When I read, he'll tell me, read this book, like in this knowing. And my ability to devour a book is my grandfather. But my dad was always like, you're gonna please get a PhD, be an engineer, and I did none of that, right? I did ethnic studies and social work, and yet this is my purpose. And so just realizing like, now I get to play. Now I get to be a creative. Like, I'm not leaving behind therapy. I don't even like to call myself a therapist. I want to do it like this. I want to write. I want to paint. I want to do music. So letting it bend, letting it shape me. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Before we close off, does anyone else have?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Sorry, I'm like having mad deja vu.
I love
That's
it.
so weird. Yeah, like, okay, I'm curious because, like, I noticed that you put a lot of different, like, tips and, like, techniques of, like, you know, you're coming out, like, with, I don't know, just, like, different things. But, like, how does, like, one learn how to reclaim their creativity or themselves when they're burnt out, depressed? Like, life happens, like, when you're back down in that, like, you know, yeah, I guess I'm just curious, like.
Ooh. Thank you. What's your name?
Marbella.
Marbella?
Yeah.
Oh, nice to meet. Do you work here? Were you at the Were you at one of the? No. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. At the Inner Child Mirror one.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice to see you. Yes. Well, when you say it, I was thinking about the inner child, which is funny. This journey for me started with my inner child, and like I used to be like, you know, my husband's a DJ again, and I'm like, he's the creative, he's the artist. I'm the one with the masters. I mean, come on. And I would just like not label myself creative or artistic, you know? And so I had to reclaim things that I wasn't really allowed to do. I would love to sing as a kid. Turns out that singing is polyvagal toning, is clearing all that stuff out, is humming, right? And when I ask what my abuelos did, they sang. They love singing. My uncles will get a guitar at Christmas and everybody's singing and and I'm like, that's what we did. So really going back to her, I would lay on my sofa at night after I put the kids to bed and just cry. And so I actually so this book is self-published. That means I made it myself. I self-published it. I was waiting for people like one day, and I was like, who's they? Who is they that I'm waiting for? So I had to bet on her. So this is my 4th book. I've written 2 journals on inner child and a workbook. But I was like, I have to let her do the things. Because if I don't let her do it, then I'm just like my parents. You know, then I'm just like all the other people who told me I couldn't do it. So I would just be like, what do you want? What do you want to do? And so I literally recommend doing the things that you liked to do. And letting yourself, even if it's like, why am I feeling like eating gelatina? Oh, don't ask, just do it. Make space for it. That's why I really talk about like inner child altars, creating a literal or figurative space within you to pay homage to your inner child. And I think part of that is like being present with yourself. I was thinking about reading the inner child one. Is that okay?
Yeah.
The wound one? Okay. So I wanted to just, send something to you. It's page 40. What time is it? Is it okay?
Yeah, 7:30.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay. Is it okay to read it?
Yeah.
Okay. So this one is, I realized that my Marianismo stems from my inner child. And she's like trying to do all the things. She's like, you're supposed to be a good wife. We know the script. We've heard it. And we've heard women be shamed who don't do it. So I'm going to read my Marianismo and the inner child wound. And like, I hope if you see yourself, just hold yourself. The thing is, my inner child, oh, I'm sorry. It's the page before. I'm sorry. 39. And I won't read all of it, but I'll read most. My Marianismo and the inner child wound. Just the header on this page has my inner child feeling some kind of way about how I talk about my own mother or how I honor thy mother in this book. That is my inner child feeling the need to dismiss parts of her story, once again, to honor her elders. This is not just an epigenetic pool to keep secrets and keep appearances. This is also my inner child fear of disappointing my own mother. My own wounds come long before I was even born. My wounds have cellular fragments from my great-grandparents and still inform the dance my mother and I do now. Let me explain. In season 3, episode 4 of Confetti All Around, that's my podcast. See, one day, okay, I'm gonna pause. One day, I'm just gonna laugh at myself. I was doing an interview talking about checking the boxes. I had a job interview, okay? And I heard myself saying she's like, oh, so tell me about yourself. Like, how could you handle, those stupid, how would you handle conflict? All those things. I was like, honey, I've been a social worker 15 years. Conflict, let's go. And I'm telling her all the things I do. And all of a sudden, I'm embarrassed. Hearing myself, I have a podcast. I do a business. We do the workshops. I work full time. I homeschool my kids. And I just start cracking up. Like, you're doing too much all the time. Like what? And there it is. And I heard it and I was like, so anyway, I just wanted to say that part because it's funny. So I also have a podcast is the point. I host a solo episode entitled La Llorona, Not Dead But Not Alive Either, where I share some of the postpartum experience of what I called being in the fog. I felt not dead, but not alive, always longing for a quiet place away from my own internal thoughts and fears. I explained the epigenetics of panic and worry in my lineage as the story of my grandfather Mario leaving his mother at the age of 11 to travel to the United States in search of a better life and away from his abusive stepfather. My great-grandmother Aurora would missed her son, my grandfather, so much that every day that he was gone, she would cry on the beach of Chuchulub and search for him at the pier of Progreso Beach, Yucatan, in hopes that her son had returned. My grandfather left his land from the ages of 11 to 14 to escape his abusive stepfather and to see what he could find for himself. This led to my great-grandfather Lola longing to make this loss right. Lola had also lost 2 of her very own young children prior to that. So when her oldest son left in protest of his stepfather, well, that right there changed the next part of our lives, and they didn't even know it yet. Worried she would never see her son Mario again, when he returned home after 3 years of traveling throughout the U.S. on a labor ship, she committed to always help him care for himself and his family. This root fear of abandonment and child loss would haunt me through my stem as a new mother. This longing and yearning for home and safety would awaken as postpartum grief. So, I'm going to skip the next paragraph and go to the bottom one. This is what I see when I see Marianismo in our inner child. Like, this is what she looks like. Okay, I can see her now. The last paragraph. When I think about my inner child and Marianismo expectations, I see her/them trying to be all the things. If I'm being detailed and honest, I see my inner child about 7 years old, wearing a pearl necklace and a black and white polka dot dress to her knees, grown woman heels that are obviously too big. I see her hair pinned up with a couple of curls at the bangs. She is holding a big boxy purse and wondering how to apply the red lipstick in her hand. She loves that it is bright red and how beautiful her own mother looks all dolled up. She knows what she should do. She just never expected all the feelings to follow. My inner child is who I task to carry out my Marianismo burdens. Don't get me wrong, she does it. Sometimes she delights in it. She's used to getting to pretend to be the mom anyway, so this should be a piece of flan. Easy peasy, except it is overwhelming and lonely. The thing is, my inner child has her own experience with motherhood. One is a lived experience that she woke up to every day and felt in her spunky, chubby kid body. The other one is the motherhood experience she feels through her own mother's lived childhood, her grandmother's motherhood, and her great-grandmother's maternal traumas and reconciliations. Woo! Read that back because that is a lot. Took me years postpartum to untangle this ball of yarn and find my own body at the center. When I'm activated by my maternal worry or fear, not only am I responding to the present reality, but I am in a sympathetic mode. I am tapping into my epigenetics reserves and unlocking some past survival codes to push through unbearable or unknown feelings. When I need to cope with my motherhood, my own epigenetic guides my unconscious inner mother. But what about that inner child? Who guides her if not me? That is where I have found my compass getting me lost. My inner child is guided by my own real experiences of my mother, sprinkled with codependent wishes for her to finally choose me. Truth finds it hard to tell my inner child that she has always been enough. And also, sadly, my mother has been parenting me from her inner child wounds that always longed for her mother, whom was always in another place than she was. Sorry, mija. That is the truth of it. That's the naranja agria from which you come. Anywhere but here, anyone but you. Anywhere but here, anyone but you. I started to label this feeling of never enoughness I felt projected on me from my mother. The thing is, my mom always longed for her mom. And her mom longed for her mom. And here I was, longing for my own mother to see me, feel my warmth, and she couldn't. Her inner child was sitting in her adult body, ready to be picked up from her maternal responsibilities and held by her own mother and dismissed from this other life of being constantly wanted instead of constantly cared for. It cost little me so much time and pain every day when she didn't even notice the love she did have. The love I offered in various actions. I would sing to my mom, First, for my own pleasure of singing, but secondly, to maybe snap her out of the sad trance of wishing she was with them, her family. And little me would turn the singing into humming, and the humming would turn into crying, because who was I to, if not to, her family? I never saw it until I became a mom. The two of us, sitting in our own rooms crying for our mothers to hold us. Her in Mexico, and mine in the next room, watching novelas, and neither of us feeling held. So I end it with just saying, what could I give to that little girl? Instead of like, I can't go there, I can't show this, I can't put it out. What if I held her, and I've done this many times, and was like, what do you have to show me? Like, okay, they didn't believe on you, they're lame, what are we doing? And in that I realized, like, you haven't seen it be done, but that's because you're not me. You don't get to see what's up here. It's for me to do it. So like letting her be your co-pilot, letting her be your first employee, letting her be, or they be like the one that's like, let me show you what I got now. And then trusting her. But then in that, she's going to give you gifts. They're going to be like, remember this? Pow, 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 you know? So like making a space for them to show you like not just their pain, but their creativity. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Cynthia, for this, for sharing your book, for sharing this wisdom. Yeah, we really, really appreciate you.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys, Color Compton, and you, Mayra, for the thoughtfulness, for the intention, for like really like stepping up to the ask that I put before you and like getting into it. So I thank you.
So good. So healing for me.
Yes, I thank you so much.